Welcome to the Real News Network. I'm Mark Steiner. Great to have you with us. The death toll from last week's mining dam collapse in Brazil has risen to at least 84, with another 276 people missing at last count that I've read. In terms of people missing and killed, this is Brazil's deadliest mining disaster on record. And the Vale Mining Company, which operated the dam, has said it will decommission 10 of its dams in Brazil, which represents 10% of the company's output. This is a security precaution, as they put it. But with this new government waiting to slash environmental regulation and open more land to development and mining, we'll see what that really means. But what does this mining dam collapse mean in terms of its overall environmental impact? And what responsibility does the Brazilian government bear in it all? Joining me to discuss this is Fabiana Alves. She is climate and energy campaigner at Greenpeace Brazil. And Fabiana, thanks for joining us today here at Real News. It's good to have you with us.
Thank you very much.
So I mean, when you see the pictures of what happened in Brumadinho, they're horrendous and they're frightening to look at. But I'm curious, in a large perspective outside that town and what's happened since, what we know, what will be the health impact of this collapse on the people, on the animal life, on agriculture, on the environment? What are some of the things you're watching and worrying about?
Yes, 3 years ago, we had the same type of disaster in Brazil, very close to Brumadinho, the place that this disaster happened now, in the same state, the state of Minas Gerais. And the disaster was done by the same company, which is Vale.
Vale, not
this
Vale,
company,
Vale. Yeah,
yes, right. This company killed 21 people in the last time and made a whole city completely disappear. And another one had to be evacuated and reconstructed. None was done. None of the both cities that needed to be reconstructed was reconstructed. The mud is a toxic mud. It's already there in the place of the ancient disaster. And they had not paid what the government was charging for all the mess they have done in the past. So what I can say right now is that the trust in the company is very low because they have not done what they had to do in the past. So I have to see what they are going to do now. About the environmental impacts, they are huge. The mud is toxic. So there's a lot of iron in the mud and manganese. These two components are very toxic. And the last time Greenpeace coordinated 6 different studies, independent studies, to see how was the impact, the environmental impact and the social impact, because both things we have to remember are linked. And what we saw there is that the level of toxic in the mud was very high. So that means that the mud is affecting people that are in contact with it. Last time they killed a whole river. We had a huge river. It's called the Doce River. They have killed the entire river and everything that was around the river. They had not done the reforestation that they needed to do. And let's see how it's going to be now, because the mud is going to one of our biggest rivers in Brazil, which is São Francisco. And we hope that the mud stops at a hydroelectric that we have in the middle of the way.
Now, but I've also read that the way this toxic mud is moving, that, as you just said, infecting Brazil's largest river, going into this indigenous territory as well. And people have already seen thousands of dead fish floating in the water. So, I mean, what do you know? What do we know about the environmental impact so far, and what the effect could be in a larger area, if in fact it could?
Well, what we know from past experiences, it's going to impact everything that is around. It can contaminate the water, and also the water on the underground. So if someone is taking water from the underground, this water may be contaminated too. It's necessary to examine the water to see how the water is, and it needs to be done all the time, not just once, but once in a month or even more times to see how these things are happening. Same thing for health impacts. From now on, we need to see how people that are close to this toxic mud, if they are representing anything that could cause, that could be a problem in their health. So everything, all this needs to be closed, seen by the enterprise. Enterprise needs to be there to do that.
So the president of Brazil, Bolsonaro, has said on Twitter that he and his administration want to do everything in their power to prevent more tragedies like this. But he's also carrying out an agenda of environmental deregulation. And when you look back at the history of the last 10 years, even with an administration in Brazil that represented the people in a greater depth than Bolsonaro's does, administration came from the left, you still could not regulate this industry. You couldn't stop it. So what's your response? What should be the response? And what's your response to Bolsonaro in all of this?
Well, Bolsonaro, he used to be in the Congress very close to ruralistas. Those are a part of the Congress that tries to put laws that makes environmental license more flexible, so easy to structures can be easily done. They want to pass laws on that. Bolsonaro is linked to people in the government that have already said that environmental people are always exaggerating things. They do not. They have declared that they want the country of a development, and that environment has nothing to do with that. So he has a completely wrong way to see what development and economic means. For example, if you see everything that happened, people that, rivers that, and all the social impact, those impacts cause economic impacts too, that they are not doing the right accountability on that. So we need to see how he's going to do the next steps for that.
So it was interesting. I was reading an article that showed these people scrawling on the walls in the town that you said Vale, is how you say it, Vale?
Yes, Vale.
Vale is a recidivist murder prophet is what Vale is all about. Vale can kill you. So there were all these signs that were across in that town after this disaster took place. And so I'm wondering what kinds of environmental policy would actually have to be put in place to stop these kinds of disasters, because more could be coming.
Well, environmental licenses are very important, because that's the moment that you say if it's okay or not okay to do a project, an infrastructure project. So it's very important that Brazil has a very strong legislation on that, and that all states follow it. So we don't have a competition between states to see who gets more infrastructure and who gives more to the companies to have them in their states. This is important, but it's also important is fiscalization. In Brazil, we have no fiscalizations of all dams that we have in Brazil. We have more than 40% of the dams. They are not. We don't know where they are. There are no transparency. Yes, there are no transparency of where they are, and what are the risks they are causing. So we need the government to see that. Another thing is the fiscalization. It needs to be done regularly, and it needs to be independent. We cannot accept anymore that enterprises hire the people that are doing the fiscalization in their dams. So these type of things can't happen anymore.
Well, Fabiana Alves, I appreciate you taking the time to talk with us here at Real News Today. I know you're extremely busy and going now from Sao Paulo to Bumajano yourself to see what's going on. I look forward to talking to you again. Stay safe. I hope that people will be safe in that community. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
And I'm Mark Steiner here for the Real News Network. Thank you for joining us. Take care.